Let's talk Doom WADs, baby. This is going to be a shorter category because I'm the only one I think who played Doom WADs. Although Cal, there is one that Cal is almost as knowledgeable as me about. And let's just get into it. Best new Doom WAD / mod. And I say mod because myhouse.wad is not a WAD file. It's a PK3 file. It is a fully modded mod for Doom. But
all right, in English for the rest of us, please.
Do you know what's funny? I will just say real quick, John Romero, I'm wearing my John Romero, John Carmack shirt. I might have to show this on the big screen real quick. It's my ultra violence album cover that someone made online. But John Romero, basically, they created this like workflow where all of the data was kept on one single file called a WAD. And WAD, he just stands for where's all the data? That's what WAD stands for. And that's where all the data is. And the reason why that's so friendly for modding is that people can make Doom mods and then just contain it all on one WAD file. It's basically like Doom's version of a zip file. And it makes it so you can manage and download mods and WADs. The game's 30 years old and it's really easy to run mods for it. And it's still a thriving community of modders. And all these mods and WADs that I have on this list, these are the ones that I played this year and they all came out and none of them are bad. They're all really top-notch quality.
Before we dive in, can I ask some questions?
You may.
Because here's what I think is interesting. I think Doom is fun. I think Doom 2 is fun. I think you've roped me into a handful of WADs and like Doom and Quake 2 remastered and all these games. And I think socially, like when they're multiplayer, they're fun. And I think individually, I missed the boat. I missed the window for Doom. I think I was a Super Nintendo kid. That was the stuff I played. Mm-hmm. And I appreciate that. Now, what I wanted to ask you is, as somebody who this is like, it's like a dose of your childhood, but under a new experience, and you've played a shitload of WADs. What makes a good WAD or a Doom mod? What is it? What are you looking for particularly when you're unwrapping a new one of these, and it's kind of be based on the same assets and like structure, but slightly different? Like what is it that you want in that?
So they can vary a lot. They released the source code publicly when they put out the game. So it's had a modding community since basically it came out. And it varies. Some people have recreated someone made Sonic 3D in Doom mod, and you can literally go and play a 3D platformer, like a Sonic adventure style game in the Doom engine. Someone has made much more modern shooters. There's some really impressive mods out there, but to me, what makes a good WAD is it's this game that I have this, as you mentioned, nostalgic connection with. It's one of the first games. I remember my dad having the demo on his computer, and I watched him play, and then I played it myself. And I, at the time, found it fucking terrifying because I'd never controlled a character in 3D space that was this fast, where there's demons that shoot fireballs at you. And suddenly I was using keyboard only. I didn't know mouse and keyboard yet. So if you think about that, I wasn't running or anything. I was turning with the arrow keys, really clunky. And it was just a scary ass game. Anyway, point is, I have this nostalgic connection to it, but it's 30 years old now. And the cool thing about Doom WADs is a lot of people are keeping the spirit and the tone of the game alive and adding levels to it. It's almost like how Super Mario Maker makes, it's just like, oh, this is the sound effects and the assets that I know and love, but there's more content, interesting levels. It's basically the game that just never ends. There's always more DLC for it, and it's always free.
So I love that as a pitch for Doom, right?
Yeah.
But here's my question. When it comes to WADs, like, do you want all the original like enemies plus maybe one or two more? Do you want all the original weapons plus one or two more? Like, how much do you want changed in the experience for it to feel like a Doom WAD? Or like, that's what I don't quite understand, because obviously I'd say maps being different is like the core difference. Well, how much other shit do you want changed?
By and large, this year, the WADs that I played use a lot of the original assets. I'm showing footage here from Evil Eternity 2, which just came out like 2 or 3 weeks ago. So I've only played a couple hours of it. But this is just the big thing I look for first and foremost is level design. And I play a bunch of WADs that use all the original weapons and all the original monsters, but the level design is just so far out there. The best ones in here do an interesting combination where they have the original roster. As you can see in this footage, it's all familiar enemies. Yeah. But if you skip ahead, like, I don't know if it's going to show it. This is just some guy's footage, but there's a bunch of custom monsters that are added as well. Like different variants, different ones that are faster, meaner. They've redesigned some of the stuff. So not only does it have the original roster of monsters, but it has a bunch more. And I think that it really spices things up when you have new enemy. Oh, here you go. Here's some soldiers that weren't in the original one that are shooting like little missiles and rockets and machine guns. This is Evil Eternity 2 is one that just sort of is the classic vibe and the tone of Doom, but it just in the levels are absolutely massive too. Massive levels, new enemies, with the same gameplay you know and love. Yeah,
convenient WAD
exactly.
I think that's good context because it is something where, you know, like Doom spawned a whole genre of first-person shooters, and like getting to understand what are the fragments of the original game that you feel like need to be present to make it a Doom mod or WAD versus something that's, you know, kind of like Doom inspired.
Right.
The game is actually different.
So here's one is a little farther away from Doom. It has, as you can see here, different weapon skins, like a different style level. There's some.
This one with you?
No, this is one called Godless Knight. And as you can see, there's different color variants of these enemies. So there's the original monsters, but then there's these weird green slime variants. There's darker versions that jump out. As you can see, there's much smoother weapon animations. There's machine guns, shotguns. This is a new enemy here. The two new enemies right there. And so it kind of looks like it's something that could be in the original Doom, but it's like all new monsters, variants of the weapons where they do different, it's different speed, different power than the original. So this one is basically like a big remix where a lot of the gameplay is similar. You're still trying to find keys. You're still trying to shoot enemies. You're still trying to collect weapons. So like the gameplay is the same, but the level design, the look of it, the feel, the weapons, the monsters are all different. You're contending with, and there's a bit of fear and danger with that because you're dealing with enemies that you're not as familiar with. You're not as comfortable. You don't know what their behavior is. So you don't know the best way. Like these look like imps, but these are weird variants. And he has like some 6-shooter that's like a flamethrower. So this is a sick ass mod. This is one of the better ones I played this year. Well, they're all good. Godless Knight. And then of course, I'll just briefly touch on Sigil 2, which is John Romero's, I've streamed this one a little bit too. John Romero's latest.
He's like live streamed him like coding this shit, right?
Yes, he's actually, you can actually follow him on Twitter, actually designing Sigil 2. But so a few years ago, he put out Sigil 1, which was like episode 5, the unofficial episode 5 of Doom 1. So this is the unofficial episode 6 of Doom 1. And on one hand, this is level design above everything else. That is the appeal of what playing a modern John Romero game, Sigil. The levels are dastardly. I had to play it on the easiest difficulty because even on medium, it was kicking my ass and trolling me so hard, putting hard enemies where you don't want them, and just like John Romero is a mean level designer. Like these are nasty levels. They're fun.
This isn't your gameplay, right?
No, this is just some YouTube. Yeah, this is some YouTube I pulled up. This is from Decino, who's actually a big Doom streamer.
Sorry, take it back.
But yeah, no, he sucks. The thing about Sigil 2, and it was kind of my complaint with Sigil 1, is that it's a sequel for Doom 1. Doom 1 has way less enemies. There's like a third as much as there is in Doom 2. Maybe half. I don't know if it's a third, but they don't have the super shotgun. And there's just like a little bit more limitations from stuff that Doom 2 introduced, because most people that make mods for Doom, they use all of the Doom 2 stuff. This only uses the Doom 1 stuff. And so the enemy, while I think he does a great job making interesting levels that are engaging, it's just like the enemy roster is just not quite big enough to really be as interesting as some of the other Doom mods. Like replaying Doom 1 is fun, but I always revisit Doom 2 way more often because of the enemy roster, because of the super shotgun, and because of the new kind of elements that Doom 2 introduced. And so I don't revisit Doom 1 as much, even though you might say the level design could be better. It's just not as fun, in my opinion. So Sigil 2 is a really cool experience. It's awesome. John Romero's making these levels still, but I wouldn't say I had a blast playing it. It's cool. It has a kick-ass soundtrack. Definitely top contender for soundtrack, which we'll get into.
I feel like the question is like, was he not involved with Doom 2? Is there a reason why he might prefer to make like it? To me, it's like, why would you make Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 maps if you have THPS 2, which is like
Exactly.
significantly better.
100%.
That's kind of the okay.
It's a good comparison. He was involved with Doom 2. He designed a bunch of the levels in Doom 2. I heard that he's actually planning on putting out a megawad next, which for the uninitiated, a megawad is a full 32 level mod for Doom 2, which means that he's going to make 32 new levels using the Doom 2 asset thing. I don't know if he's officially confirmed this, but I thought I saw him talk about somewhere that his next project for Doom is going to be a megawad. So I think he is going to move on to Doom 2 stuff next, which I'm very excited about and also very nervous about because, as I said, John Romero is a mean level designer. He puts out hard stuff. And there's a scary enemy in Doom 2, the Archvile, which is the guy that's like the skeletal guy that's like gold. And he like reaches up and he can respawn enemies you've killed, including really hard ones. And so I have a feeling John Romero is going to be a bastard about that and put them in the worst places. But either way, yeah, that's a good comparison.
Okay. I mean, interesting to me that this is where he, if your if your critique of Sigil 2 is that it's still Doom 1 based versus Doom 2, it's interesting that that's where he's choosing to make his, but maybe it's all just getting the reps in. Now that he doesn't have to worry about running his own game company and releasing Daikatana or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, no, he has a Daikatana, the game where it's John Romero is going to make you his bitch or whatever.
Yeah.
I love that he's still making Doom levels. Like, even though Sigil 2 it's cool and interesting, it's free. So I paid $6 to get the version with the soundtrack. But anyway, let's get to the real reason.
Year though,
but
we're here to basically choose a winner and then dump the rest in the old garbage bin.
Yeah, let's look at our list again here real quick. So there's one that we haven't talked about, and honestly, actually, there's two I haven't talked about. Venturous, I'll just say real quick, I won't even show footage of it. Venturous is someone tried to make an Indiana Jones WOD. Indiana Jones WOD. I know saying WOD is just funny, but someone made reskin the game where you're using Tommy guns, you're holding torches, you're using older pistols. It's like an Indiana Jones era game. You're exploring these caves. There are these kind of scary kind of zombie monsters, and so you're going through temples. There's spike traps. There's a lot more of that kind of stuff. And visually, it's very cool. It's technically a beta version, but I played it, and I played like surprisingly a lot of it. I played like 3-4 hours of it, and it's fun. It's really fun, really cool, but just like standard Doom, just an Indiana Jones setting. But there's the reason why we even talking about Doom WODs at all this year. Like, I play Doom WODs every year. Like, there's always cool, good new stuff coming out. But there's one in particular that, like, I thought about. It was like on the top of my head for a long time. And it was because, I will say, you're the one who brought it to my attention. Do you want to set up sort of?
I'll set it up. I know Kirk pretty well. Good friends. And I'm probably more steeped in internet. I wouldn't say internet culture necessarily, but YouTube culture. And occasionally something pops across my desk, like my little YouTube subscribe page or whatever.
Someone just runs a paper across your desk. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we've chatted about it before where it's like, watch some speedrun on a game that I don't even like. I'll watch a speedrun on a game and don't even know about the game.
Yeah, I'll watch any summoning salt video or. Yeah.
But I saw this thing on myhouse.wad and I watched, it's like a 3-hour video, and I watched the first 20 minutes of it and I was immediately locked in. And now, considering my background, which is like Kirk's been pushing WODs on me for years, and I've never had an interest really that much beyond like the multiplayer shit. And I'm like, wow, this is starting to hook me in. And then I sent it over to him and I said, dude, have you checked out myhouse.wad? This might be up your alley. And you kind of hand waved me. You're like, yeah, I've got a lot of games on my schedule right now. Like, maybe I'll, and maybe I didn't do a good job of pitching it. And frankly, I think that's why I wanted to ask the question at the beginning about what makes a good Doom WOD, because in my head, I was like, oh, this might be shit then. Maybe this isn't something that he'd be interested in. But, so I brought it to you, and then I think I did a soft pitch. You weren't that into it, or you didn't, I wasn't able to convince you. And then maybe I sent you the video and you watched it, or you should actually tell me how you picked it up from there, because next thing you knew, you were like, bro, this shit's crazy.
So you're absolutely right. I screwed up badly on this one, because this was in the peak of me being busy at work. This was at the peak of as the reason why we're doing this whole sit down of talking about games of the year this year is because there's so much to talk about. There were so many big games this year, so many awesome stuff that like I didn't get the time to play a lot of the stuff that I wanted to. And we have a category for that later on. But I was busy with work at the time, and I only had like maybe like 1 or 2 nights a week where I could either squeeze in some gaming at all. And you sent me this video, and it was like a 2-hour video. And so my first thought is like, oh, I'm interested, but like 2 hours. And then also like, you kind of suggested, hey, here's the video for it, but I think that you should play it blind. And I'm like, you know what? I think you're right, but I'm also like, I'm just too busy. I was probably between like Zelda and RE4 and Metroid. I was probably in that zone. Yeah, and I think Zelda had literally just come out. And I was just like, this looks cool, but I just don't know if I have time to kind of really dive into this. So maybe what I'll do is I'll just watch the video that you sent and sort of see what it's about. And then instead of playing it, maybe I'll just do that instead of playing it. I was just lazy and I watched the video, and it's by this guy Power Pack, who I've gone on to watch a few of his other videos because a really, really, really well done video. The video deserved to go viral. He did a great job of explaining and walking through why this map is special. And I watched that video and was blown away by what this Doom level does. And I'm a nerd with Doom. And so I basically, long story short, I watched this video, was blown away by what I saw. I downloaded the mod myself. I played it, but I had already had the big twists kind of surprised. I mean, the big twists spoiled for me because I had watched this video. Someday maybe we can have Boj play it because he hasn't seen the truth about it. So I'm not going to spoil the big stuff. I will just say, and I keep rewinding in this footage and started over from the beginning as to not show any of the truly crazy stuff. But this is a different genre than anything I've seen in a Doom WOD before. This is like psychological horror. This is closer to like one of the games that you would play on your stream when you played a lot of those like kind of horror games where I don't even know exactly what to compare it to because there's nothing quite like this game. But the reason why it's so interesting as a Doom WOD is because there's a sort of meta narrative around it as well. Basically, this guy posted this level and just said, hey, my good friend, childhood friend passed away, and he left me this floppy disk with this Doom level he made of his house. And so I decided to fire up the Doom map maker and finish this level of his childhood home in a loving tribute. This map should take about 10 minutes to play. Enjoy. And that's the setup. And you download this thing, and this map is like bigger than Doom 1 and 2 combined, and clearly has some shady shit about it. And one of the things that's super fascinating about it is shit is just off when you play it. Like I have played it myself, but the soundtrack sounds a little weird. There's a couple of things with the engine that it does that you're not supposed to be able to do. Like Doom doesn't let you stack 2 rooms on top of each other, and suddenly there's rooms on top of each other. There's like weird doors and portals that sort of appear out of nowhere. The vibe suddenly is shifting, and like the game makes you really uneasy. And the more familiar you are with Doom and what Doom is, the more uneasy it makes you because shit just is weird about the game. Does stuff with the engine I've never seen. And it's one of these things where you could do what this guy just did and finish the level and think not much of it. You go through the house, you get the key, you leave. You're like, okay, looked like someone's house, looked like a Doom WOD. It was a little weird. But then there's just this layer that if you peel back and go further and have this thing happen to you, you fall down a rabbit hole that is totally insane. And if anyone is interested in or plays Doom, you have to check it out. And don't do what I did and look up too much about it. If you're interested at all, just play it. However, if you know you're never going to play it and you just want to see what this thing is about and you want like it's pretty scary to just watch the video, honestly. Oh, here we got some ads. Good.
So what you're saying is the award for the best spoiler-free recommendation goes to me.
Yeah. No, you
and funny enough, part of a component of all this is like I never was a Doom guy, but Kirk and I played a lot of Counter-Strike when we were in like high school. And I remember you made like a CS map of your house, or you were into like casually into like that sort of thing. So the My House WOD, I was like, oh, that's kind of reminds me of when he made a Counter-Strike map, but I don't know if you ever finished it. I don't even know if I've ever played it.
Yeah.
Like same idea.
Yeah, I did. And that's exactly right. And you know what? It's so up my alley. It's so everything I'm interested in. And I was thinking about, after I watched this video, I watched other people. There's videos of John Romero playing this level, which I highly recommend watching. There's videos of other Doom pros playing this level and having their mind blown and just being broken by it. There's a lot of really good video content out there. And I also highly recommend, semi-related, there's a Super Eye Patch Wolf video out there, YouTube channel. Super Eye Patch Wolf video about liminal spaces. I know a lot of people know about liminal spaces and the back rooms and all those kind of memes and everything else. But if you don't know what I'm talking about, there's a really good explainer of liminal spaces and their appearance. And that becomes a big factor in this level on myhouse.wad. And it is like mind-blowingly crazy, totally ambitious, scary as hell. And it just had me thinking about it for weeks. It was so up my alley. And the only justification I can just say is I just wasn't in the mood at the time. I just wasn't in the mood, and it's a big regret. I should have played this blind because I have no idea how I would have really reacted. I'll have no idea if I would have just exited the level and thought not much of it, or if I would have actually fallen down the rabbit hole on my own. It's impossible. I have nothing but regrets, but even though I had the game spoiled for me by watching the video, I've played it myself. And this is without a doubt the coolest Doom WAD that's come out maybe ever. It's fascinating. It is a really fascinating rabbit hole to dive down. If you're into psychological horror and all that stuff, look up this video by Power Pack called Inside Doom's Most Terrifying. myhouse.wad, Inside Doom's Most Terrifying WAD. Really awesome. That would easily is my pick for WAD of the year. I mean, it's basically talking about the other stuff was just a formality. There was a lot of Godless Night, Evil Eternity 2, really high quality Doom mods that I recommend if you're into Doom. But myhouse.wad is crazy. It is out of control, out of this world. I'm so glad that Cal brought it to my attention. I might have seen it otherwise. I might not have. I should have just listened to Cal. That's a lesson for me to learn. Next time, Cal, I should trust that Cal knows me enough that I should have just listened. I should have listened. My bad.
No,
and I'm the one who suffered for it.
Honestly, I'm just like, I've got a few wins in my belt of games that I've recommended to you. And then once they clicked, I mean, this was kind of different, but I do have a decent track record at a certain point for games I've kind of pressured you on.
I think we're both pretty good at that in the sense that I will suggest many, many games to you, but I only select a few that I'm like, yo, Cal, get out your wallet, dog. You gotta get in on this.